All right, so this week we're going to be starting to work on the appellate brief. And we are going to be starting with, honestly, probably one of the most crucial parts of your appellate brief, and that's the statement of facts and the issue statements. And that's where you start to frame the appeal and lay the groundwork for your persuasive argument. Okay. Now, again, as I just told you, this was in the other, sorry, it's like 4 a.m. and I'm trying to knock the rest of this out. Um, but this is like I was telling you in the other lecture part is that there are differences between, the trial brief and the appellate briefs. But let's talk specifically about the statement of facts, okay? And at the trial level, you're telling the whole story, okay? But in the appellate brief, your statement of facts has to be more narrow and it also has to be more strategic. Okay. So we're no longer concerned with every little detail from the trial. We're now zeroing in on the facts that are directly relevant to the legal errors that we're challenging. Okay. So think of it as like highlighting only the most, persuasive parts of the appellate issues. Okay. And you don't get to argue here, but your facts should subtly basically do that work for you. Okay. Um, Tone matters. So your writing needs to sound neutral, even objective, while still gently kind of, tilting those scales in your client's favor. Okay. Because you want the reader to feel that your client was wronged without you ever having to outright, I guess, say it. Okay. Now, here's where we also begin introducing record citations. So, every factual assertion that you make must be backed up with a citation to the record. This could be a transcript page, an exhibit number, another part of the appellate record, whatever. Pinpoint citations are best, okay? Don't make your reader go dig for your proof, all right? So show exactly where they can find the supporting fact, okay? Now, when it comes to writing the appellate statement of facts, let's kind of break down how to structure your facts section, okay? So you'll start with a brief procedural history. How did the case get to this specific appeal? Okay. Then you're going to want to only focus on the facts that relate to your appellate issue. For example, if you're challenging a jury instruction, you don't need to recount the entire trial, just the portions that relate to the jury instruction and how that affected the outcome. And you'll use headings to organize the sections clearly. But also make sure to include enough context for the appellate judges to understand why the issue matters. But again, don't cross that line into argument. You also don't need to address bad facts, okay? I'm sorry, you do need to address the bad facts. Again, it's 4 a.m. Um, if you ignore them, you lose credibility, okay? So instead, present them factually, and when possible, do your best to try to neutralize them. Now let's talk about the issue statements and how to create an effective one. Um, this is where you're framing your legal issues. Okay. So how do you phrase your issue statement? It can actually completely shift how the court thinks about your case, right? So the traditional format looks a little like this, where it'll be, did the trial court err in granting summary judgment to the defendant? And that's fine, but you can do better. Okay. So let's look at this is one that's from the attorney. His name's Brian Garner. And this was his issue statement. When the only witness to the accident testified to the plaintiff had any right of way, and the trial court still granted summary judgment to the defendant, did it err in finding that there was no genuine dispute of material fact? Okay. Do you see the difference? It tells a story, it frames the error, and it makes the judge want to say, wait, yeah, that doesn't sound right. Okay. Now, some tips for like best practices: don't jam too many questions into one issue. Keep it very specific, tie it to the legal error. tie the legal error to a concrete fact, and then make it focus on something that the court can fix, a ruling, an instruction, evidentiary decision, whatever. Okay. We want to avoid vague or philosophical questions like, was justice even served? Okay. And a few more common mistakes that I see students make when doing these types of things is like rewriting the trial level facts without narrowing it to the issue on appeal. Again, we want to keep it focused. Using that overly argumentative language in the facts section, again, keep it neutral. Writing the issue statements that are too broad or vague, or stacking multiple issues into one, and then forgetting to cite the record. So, this week we're going to apply what you've learned. Okay. And I'm going to give you a short appellate scenario, and you're going to draft 2 to 3 issue statements based on that. You're going to give me one traditional at least and one deep issue. Okay. And then we'll kind of workshop them together from there. Now, we're also going to begin drafting the statement of facts and the issue statements for the appellate brief. So when you do your issue statements, get them to me and send me put them in the revised assignments folder, or actually I'll just make another folder. Um, you'll do a draft and then just let me know. Send me an email that says I've got it in there. That way I can look at it very quickly and kind of get it back to you. And then you can take it from there. But you're going to then use it to start working on the other half. And you're going to use this to focus on your strategy. Which facts are going to help your case? Which ones can you neutralize? Like, how do you want the court to see your issue? Okay. And again, I'm here to help you. Um, but we're gonna work on, kind of finalizing the statement of facts and again, those issue statements. And we'll start outlining the first, argument based on those issues. Again, I'll give you a sample brief that you can look at to kind of go by. And that's really it. Let me know if you have any questions. And I know some of you are looking forward to spring break. So I hope you have a good one, and I will see you guys when we get back. Bye.